Okay, so I am currently in Los Angeles. I've been here for about a month. I finally have understood why it is that Americans really love the idea of a Euro summer or going to Japan. And today, as a British Japanese person, I'm going to explain why I think that is, and I'm going to connect it all to walkability in cities. So, to give some context, I go to this school that travels to lots of different countries. This is my second time living in the US. Last time I lived in San Francisco, so never really saw any issues with walking around, except for that it was kind of dangerous. For the past like 6 months or so, I was living in Tokyo, and then obviously I was like raised in the UK, so lots of cows, horses, sheep, whatever, countryside life. It's been probably a total of like 2 years that I have been here. And every time I speak to somebody and I tell them where I'm from, they always want to tell me about their amazing trip to Europe or their amazing trip to Japan or their upcoming trip to either of those places, which is cool. I love both of these places. I think they're great. But I just never really understood what was the appeal until 2 weeks ago. I won L'Oreal Brandstorm 2026 representing Japan. Yay! We didn't win. I just flew from Los Angeles to Paris and I was there for about 4 days. And I really, I don't even know how to explain how nice it was. First of all, I already thought that I was going to enjoy Europe because I haven't been back to the UK or like my home continent in like over a year now, so I was feeling kind of homesick. But also, I just couldn't explain, like it was almost like everything had this like magical little glittery filter over it. And everything was just really good. And I was definitely looking at it through rose colored glasses, but I was like, let me take out some of the obvious factors of like why it is that I'm missing Europe. Like, obviously, I miss like the familiarity of the culture and like I'm missing my friends and that kind of thing. If we ignore all of those factors, which there are a lot, what I basically managed to break it down to is that without walkability in a city, there is no way to grow culture. Very big statement. But I think I could be right, and I would love to like debate somebody on this if they have an opposing idea. But my idea is that, so basically, I first noticed this in LA when I was like walking around my area. I live in Hollywood, so it's a walkable area within Los Angeles, but obviously LA is like very famously not walkable because the districts are all like spread apart across like this big part of land. So like I wanted to go to the beach the other day. It took me 2 hours to get on the bus and go to the beach. It was it was nice. I can't drive. And obviously everybody in LA want to tell me like, yes, you should learn how to drive and then you can. But I feel like there is a bigger problem here of like not everybody just learning to drive. Otherwise we just need more parking lots and then we need bigger roads and that's just never it's not going to end well in the long term. I get on an individual level I can learn to drive a car. However, going back to my story, so I was walking around in Hollywood and then I have this like habit, which I can actually show you because it's pretty cool. Um, so I have this hobby of basically collecting lots of little random things that I find either on the street or just like around where I live. This is like a little it's a little receipt. I got this with like my T-Money card when I went to Korea. I have some cute photos. These are from like the airports, luggage ticket, that kind of thing. And then I will basically accumulate a bunch of these things. I'll just like turn them into a scrapbook like this kind of thing. And I would like take it from all of the places that I visited over the years. And I was trying to do that in Hollywood because I don't really have that long to stay here. So I was trying to like make the most of it. And as I was walking around, I realized that there really wasn't anything on the street. Like Usually, like when you walk somewhere, maybe you can find like a cafe and they might have like a little card or like a gallery or something, or maybe even just like a sticker on the street. But at least in this area, I couldn't find any of that. But I did notice that they have so many billboards. Like I can't even count how many billboards there are. It is actually ridiculous. I think I've seen everything advertised on a billboard, but usually it's a TV show, it's something politically questionable and it's trying to change your beliefs, or it's like accident lawyers and it's like, I hope you don't crash your car, which I think is crazy to put next to a big road where everybody is driving. And then I realized that there is no easy way to collect all of these little ephemera. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but like little things for my scrapbook, because the city is designed for cars. So in Europe, while you would have all of these little things, it's because the streets are designed to attract people. Like you are trying to attract individuals who are walking around or cycling around. So you have like your shop doors open, you have clothes racks on the street, maybe you have like people giving out little like samples of something or like leaflets. It's just things are made for people. Buildings are designed to attract people. But here, where I'm staying, everything is made to attract cars. So big signs everywhere. Big store signs, big billboards, big parking lots. It needs to be easy to get to. Even if you saw something interesting on the side of the street, like a little bookstore, you would have to like find a place to park your car, which costs money, it costs time. You have to go and walk all the way back just to go inside, and you don't even know what's inside. So it's just easier to not explore your area, and it means that it's easier just to drive from A to B. But then you're not interacting with your environment whatsoever. And if you're not interacting with your environment, then how do you develop location based cultures? Like, up until this point, I feel like location based cultures has always been a given. So, like, what country you're from, you are going to develop a culture from there. Or maybe you even have a culture in your specific city or in your specific area, you share an accent and that kind of things. But we are now starting to live in an age where people are starting to have cultures solely online that are not related to where they actually are physically based. And also, I noticed that from like living in lots of different countries, there tends to be a specific kind of separate group of people who are international, where they aren't really connected to any kind of culture. And I feel like I would sort of fit into this group because obviously I'm mixed race, so I experienced like two cultures growing up, but then also for the past 3 years, I haven't actually been staying in either of my home countries. It just makes it a little bit difficult for me to think about where do I call home, because I keep jumping from place to place every 6 months or so, which is in itself a massive privilege. And I'm not trying to downplay that in any way. But I have noticed that there is this separation where we aren't really seeing as much rich cultures, but more actually a dilution of it, in a way where I think that like accents are definitely dying out with the rise of the internet and the huge distribution of Western media in every corner of the world. Like everybody's accents are becoming Americanized. Slang is becoming the same. I've seen those reels of like people doing a 6-7 to like some little kid in a different country, and everybody understands. We all have the same humor, the same kind of shared knowledge, which I think is cool in cases like that where we can like connect with people across languages and whatever, even though I do think 6-7 is stupid. um I just think it's sad if it's coming at the cost of historical cultures that we have built for hundreds or thousands of years. And so I'm linking that all to being able to engage in your environment. And I do think that people are trying. I definitely am not saying that I don't think that there's any culture. That's not true at all. But I do think that now it takes a lot more effort to be able to engage in your community. After this, I basically went online and I watched this TED talk about this guy called Jeff Speck. And he basically does a lot of work about walkability in cities and why he thinks it's important. And I thought he might say something similar to me because my thought was all about like culture and happiness, like being able to engage in fun environments that are very cool and exciting. Um, but no, his thoughts were actually all about health. So I actually had like a 2 year respiratory illness kind of thing, which means that living in Los Angeles and walking everywhere sucks because I'm always walking next to like 6 lane traffic. And that kind of messes up my breathing. So yeah, obviously there would be a rise in respiratory diseases if everybody is around all of these cars. It's worse for the environment, and also it's much easier to gain weight because it's harder to walk to places. Like when I was in Japan, because like they have such good infrastructure. Obviously, I think Japan has its own societal issues that make it difficult to walk to places. But in terms of physically walking to a location, it's generally like a very safe country, and they have clean, well built sidewalks, pavements for people to walk on to get to places. And so you actually end up doing exercise without even thinking about it. But here, I live in like an apartment complex, which is almost its own village in a way. Like it has a gym in it, it has a shop, it has a study space, there's a coffee shop. Like everything is so compacted. And if I want to go somewhere else, I drive to another mall where everything is also compacted into like store, 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 store. And you just walk around like this, which means that you don't get a lot of accidental steps in. So the exercise you have to do is something that you have a conscious effort to like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. And then you have to sign up for the gym and pay for the gym and go to the gym, which is such a big time and money investment compared to if like public transport was easier to access and if we had more exciting districts to just walk around in that were easier to get to, people wouldn't need to worry so much about working out all the time and like trying to carve out time specifically for working out and for having fun when we could just have the two of them together. So like when I was in Paris, I found myself walking literally for like 4 hours a day just because the buildings were beautiful. I was happy just to look at things. I was happy to walk through these parks. There were benches and like water fountains, and it was just it was nice. It was a nice place to be because it is all built to entertain people. I think that design choices always have a purpose in mind. And in the case of the US, or like in at least in LA, a lot of the time it is not to attract people, it's for attracting cars. So what do I do? What do I do? That is my question for you guys. So far, I think there are walkable areas. So, like I said, I'm living in Hollywood, which is like a walkable area within Los Angeles. Also, I would say that I think like Venice area is also pretty walkable. The arts district, like Little Tokyo, it's walkable, but nobody really even notices that there are these abandoned areas around because you can just drive past them so quickly. But when you spend a whole block walking past that abandoned area where it's just like dust and a strange concrete structure, it's just not enjoyable. It makes me not want to walk. A final thing is that obviously, if you are not walking around and everybody is in these little tin cans, you don't talk to each other. There's so much less spontaneous interaction, which means that when you do want to go out and be social, it is a lot harder, which is funny because coming from Tokyo, people really don't come out of their own bubble. Like it's a very walkable area, it's a very walkable place. And you do pass hundreds and hundreds of people walking past them every day in the center of the city, but it's not a culture where you talk to strangers, so you don't really do it. And then that did lead to me feeling like a little bit lonely when I was living there. But here it's lonely in a different sense where I literally do not see people on the street. When I'm walking, I'm honestly embarrassed. Like, I am walking past all these lanes of traffic, and I just feel like, oh my gosh, they all know that I don't know how to drive a car, and that's the only reason that I'm walking, because walking is not an enjoyable alternative. The streets are not pretty to walk down. There is nothing to walk past. I'm just going from A to B. It makes so much more sense for me to be in a car. And I really don't, I am the only person on the street. I'm like, oh my gosh, where is everybody? I don't get it. And it's just really, it means that you don't talk to people, you don't see people as much. Yeah, that's kind of what I noticed. You can tell me if you think I'm completely wrong. I would love to hear like some solutions for this. Obviously, I am trying. I'm going to different social events. There are a lot of things happening in LA. It just takes a very long time to get there. You can tell me if this is just an LA specific thing, because I have heard that, like, for example, Portland in Oregon is like a very walkable area, and they built it like that on purpose. And there are ways to make places more walkable by like incentivizing new businesses to move into different areas and whatever. But what can I do right now as somebody who only has like a little bit of time left while I'm working and finishing up my internship? What can I do to have fun here? Give me your recommendations. I would love to hear them. I am thinking to make another video about why I don't think traveling is as cool as it used to be. If you think that that's interesting, then tell me. But I am cautious about making videos about this kind of topic because it is such like a privileged thing to complain about, and I don't want to make a 20-minute thing complaining about something that most people don't get. But let me know if you think that that's interesting. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.